Okay, now it's time for fun. This is called differential analysis, and this is where we do what ifs, and should we do this or should we do that? And we're going to use a lot of the concepts that we have had coming to this point in the course. So let's get started. This one, the very first question is, should the company sell an additional 12,000 units using the additional information on the left? So we're going to sell 2,250,000 at $15 each. And the company wants us to do an additional 15,000 and they'll pay us $12,000 a unit. So you have to look at that and you say, well, can we do that? And you have to do some calculations, but you need to figure out how will this affect current expected sales? Are the costs more, the same, or less? I mean, we've already got the setup running, so there's a little less overhead running. And how does it affect overhead, administration, and selling costs? So let's kind of dig into this and find out. Well, first of all, you got to get some information. The original sale is for $15 each, so that's the selling price. The direct materials are $2, which is 300,000 divided by 150,000. Direct labor is $4, and that is 600,000 divided by $150,000. So we've kind of got that down. Overhead, what does it say about overhead? Overhead increases by 15%. There's just a 15% increase. So 15% increase of 150,000 is 22,500. Administration cost increased by 64,500. Okay, so we've got all the information. Let's look at the normal volume. And we find out, if you plug these numbers in, here's our sales, our costs, our total expenses, and our net income without the 12,000. So now let's add that 12,000 and see how we do. There's going to be a loss or a gain. Well, we're going to have 180,000 in sales, which is 15,000 times 12. Our direct materials are going to be 15,000 times $2. Our direct labor is going to be 15,000 times $4. And our overhead, we've calculated that is going to be $250, right? Or $22.50. And then we have an additional administration expense. So if we take that 188, which is our sales, and subtract all these costs, we come to total expenses of 177, and we have a gain of $3,000. Now, all things being equal, I would say run the other 12,000, wouldn't you? So instead of having 589,500 net income, you're going to have 592,500,000. So that's kind of how you look at these costs across the board. So you have costs, incremental costs, that will go up according to what has already been set out, okay? These would be the incremental costs here, that's 64,500. So you got to consider those. Now our next scenario is, do we buy it or do we make it? And the information is, we're going to manufacture 6,500 of them. There's a variable cost of $1.95 each. We have fixed at 75,000. And I have an allocated fixed at 62,000, and it's unavoidable, which makes it irrelevant in this. It's not a relevant cost. So they just kind of throw that in there to kind of make you scratch your head. And the outside supplier can make it for $3.25 a piece. Now, well, you look at this and you think, well, hey, we can make it for $1.95. We're good. You got to do some calculations here. So let's see what we end up doing. How much is it going to cost us to make? Well, at $1.95 a unit, and we're going to make 65,000 of them, the total relevant cost for a variable is going to be $126,750. Fixed cost is not going to change. It's relevant. 75,000. So total costs, incremental cost for this part would be $201,750. And what do we get into when we get to, if we just buy it on the outside, we're going to take 325 times 65,000 and come up, it's going to cost $211,000.250. It's cheaper, even with the overhead, to make it in-house. So those are relevant costs. Unavoidable, allocated fixed, there's nothing you can do about that, so it's not relevant to the situation. It's going to be there no matter what. This $60,000 or $75,000 cost would not be there if we didn't make the part, so that's why it's relevant. So now that is, we've looked at to make more, sell more, to make or buy, or, and now let's scrap or rework. And this one's a little bit confusing, so just hang loose and I'll see what I can do. We have a new term, it's called sunk costs, and these are costs that have already been done and there's nothing you can do about them. They're sunk, they're gone. So sunk costs will come into play in this particular problem. We have incremental income and we have opportunity cost. Opportunity cost would be the profit that you would give up if you do one action over another. And we also have opportunity costs in this. So let's look at this. We have 22,000 defective units. They each cost $6 to complete. We can sell them now for $2.50 as they are without doing anything to them, or we can rework them for $4.50 and then sell them for $8.50. And if we do the rework, we could have built 22,000 more at a cost of $6 and sold for $8.50. So now what is this? First of all, the cost per unit right here, that's a sunk cost. It's already been done. There's nothing we can do about it. We just have to ignore it. The opportunity cost comes in right here with the ones we could have made but can't. And it's going to be the profit from these. That's the opportunity cost. So what do we got going here? If we sell it for scrap right now, we'll get $55,000 out of it. Okay? If we rework it and resell it, we would get $187,000 in sales. The cost to rework would be $99,000. The opportunity cost that we would lose would be $55,000, which is $187,000 minus the cost to make, and this becomes the profit. So what do we have going on here? If we rework, we're only going to have an incremental income of $33,000. If I sell it for scrap right now, I'm going to have an income of $55,000. So which way would you go? That's a $22,000 gain just by selling it. Plus, then you're going to be able to take off and get some new parts coming on. So that's kind of how you go back and forth. Remember, sunk costs are not considered in the scrap, and the opportunity cost are profits that you give up to do one option or the other. And we're going to do one more, and then I will. That's been switched around. I wonder if I can switch it back. There, for. How do you, and this one's going to say, should I process further? Okay. And right now, we have manufactured 28,000 units. I can sell them for $28 each and get $700,000. Or I can process them further and sell each of them for two products and sell one for $105 and the other for $60 each. And so we have to kind of decide. So what's my revenue here? For product A, my revenue is $28,000 times the price, which was $28. And that equals $700,000. Now, what if I do product B and C? So we take that, and let's look at this down here. We could make $56,000 of B and $11,200 of C. These are their selling prices. And their income or their sales would be $1,372,000. So now let's compare and see what we've got going. Okay, if we sell as is, it's $700,000, and that would be the cost we're looking at, or the sales we're looking at. If we process further, the sales would be 1,372 minus the 420. It's going to further processing, and we would have an incremental gain of 952,000, which would mean we would gain $252,000 more if we process further. Kind of makes sense? They're kind of fun to play with, okay? So let's make this part 1, and then I'll